Good evening. I am here to introduce two presenters who are both architects in our office. And most of the time when we take our time off in this office, we should go home to hang out with family or friends, maybe go to Vegas and party it up, get drunk, go to Hawaii and lay on the beach, or go to European countries and drink wine and dine. But instead, these two employees took their precious 2 weeks off to travel to a rural country on separate trips and to help build communities. And through their time off, or time in those foreign countries, Yvonne went to Nepal and Megan went to Southeast Africa, experienced life in a completely different manner that they couldn't experience here in such an urban city as San Francisco. They were able to experience culture, different food, the heat, and probably lots of bugs. So let's give a warm welcome to both Megan and Yvonne.
I go to Vegas too. So when BCJ builds a house, it looks something like this. And although it's beautiful, you don't actually need industrial materials or a lot of time and money, or even electricity for that matter, to build a house. And so, like Lang said, Yvonne and I did travel to the opposite side of the world to build in a more rudimentary fashion for families that we had never met. I went to Malawi, and don't worry, I wasn't sure where it is either. As far as preconceptions of the place, I didn't really have any, but I did know that there was a need, and I knew that I was going to experience a culture, again, that was very wildly different from my own. It's a gorgeous place, which this, I think, depicts pretty well. We don't build traditionally with thatch, but we do build with baked mud brick, which is somewhat traditional. So on the left, you see me looking particularly heroic, throwing mud onto the wall, which will become plaster. And on the right is a finished house. In 2 weeks with 20 people on our team, we nearly completed 2 of these, which was actually pretty remarkable and proof that things can happen fast. More than making just a physical place, obviously these are homes for people, and I found out that as the 2 weeks went on, it really became about that for me, less about building a physical shelter and more about sheltering people. And I was very fortunate to work with individuals and meet groups of people who I still am inspired by to this day. The first group I met were my teammates, and it was a pretty remarkable bunch, international. People like Julia, who's a mother of 3 and a 4-time Ironman champion, or Steve, who's 78 and still does these trips and nearly lost his life countless times traveling between Africa and Asia in the late 60s. So just those people alone, you could tell stories for years. The children were super prevalent on the site, and I am still so floored by how they found joy and peace and imagination in the simplest things, whether it was sketching in the dirt with a stick or building a toy car out of bottle caps, which I found out later is a pretty common toy throughout Africa. The real work on site was actually done by this trio of women who day in, day out for 8 hours would walk half a mile down to a lake, bring back buckets of 100-pound water on their heads. I love this picture on the left because you can see the gentlemen in the back have no idea what to do with those bricks, but this woman knows exactly what's up, and she's going to go carry some water on her head. This is Love, and she sold cola to our group every day at lunch. And again, I was just taken by her fascination and curiosity with now somewhat outdated modes of representation like Polaroid pictures. Love was totally determined to have her picture taken holding a picture, and this is the outcome of that. If you can look past the blinding whiteness of the paper or my legs, that's Love and her younger brother Clement, who's 14 and didn't speak any English. Clement had noticed that I was sketching in my sketchbook for the 2-week duration, and towards the end he approached me with a stack of papers, which were actually drawings that he had done. And so then we sketched each other, and then at the end I didn't know what to say, so I said, just keep drawing from life. And I don't know if he understood my words, but I think he got the point. And this is Evelyn, and I think the picture on the right kind of speaks volumes as to we can build a shelter for these people, and it's kind of an empty shell, but they really do make it their own. And so you can see all of her tchotchkes in the room. Pass off.
So I went to Nepal, and unlike northern Nepal, I was actually in southern Nepal, where it's a lot closer to India. So it's flat, rural, a lot of farmland. Everyone basically farms for a living. Their houses, they basically build out of whatever's nearby. It's one of the poorest places in the world. So I thought it was a good opportunity to spend my vacation there. Houses are basically 400 square feet, roughly, 2 rooms. They house anywhere from 5 to 10 people. I had the opportunity of building with bamboo, woven walls covered with plaster. Some roofs are made out of hay, some are actually made out of metal, and that's what we actually got to build. These are the 2 families that I actually helped build with. Instead of 1 house, we actually got to build 2 in 2 weeks. And what actually happened was I was actually there to build a house, but I gained a whole new perspective on life and happiness and what it actually meant to build a house. So I actually got to work with all the family members, the community, the kids, the families. They're all very happy that we were there to help them. Despite the language barrier, we were able to joke around. We learned their songs. We learned how they lived, their culture, their food. Basically, we just learned everything about them. We actually became part of the community. The one woman here, actually, her name is Chainu. She actually was very inspirational in that she was actually breaking gender barriers, traditional gender roles, and she was actually pivotal in the building construction process because she was actually the foreman, or forewoman, basically, and actually showed us that they're actually accepting of non-conforming gender roles. When the children got home from school, they actually came to the site and we were actually playing with them. We taught them duck, duck, goose. You don't know how many times we did the hokey pokey with them. Hacky sack. They're just constantly smiling, happy to engage with us, blowing bubbles, playing with balloons. We also got to meet with the women of the village, who we had a Q&A session with them. We learned that they're actually trying to empower themselves. They meet regularly to learn to write and to read, and they also meet to learn new skills, sewing, tailoring, to actually improve themselves in society. Towards the end of our stay there, the elders of the village would actually come to the site and kind of socialize with us and kind of stand around and watch what we were doing. And we learned that this was actually a rarity, and that this is actually a sign that they trusted us, that they are welcoming us into their community, and they're glad that we were there to help build with them. So in the end, we built 2 houses. We are complete strangers. They welcomed us in. We learned all about themselves, their community. They learned about us. It was a really, really inspirational trip. I guess in conclusion, both Megan and I had very, very different experiences in 2 different parts of the world. We went away to help build houses, but we came back learning and realizing that it takes a lot more to make a house become a home. So, thanks.